Okay, folks. Hello. Can I have your attention? Welcome back. I'm sure you guys have a good holiday, and coming back first thing Monday is like, oh, I know, I feel like it. Yeah. So welcome back, and I think I've seen some familiar faces. Some of you have taught in enterprise architecture and project management, so welcome back. And some new faces, so I'll definitely enjoy teaching you guys. So my name, a bit of introduction, my name is Chan Chia. You just call me Chan, will do, my first name. And that's my email, you can contact me, and usually my response time to you is within 2 working days, but usually I sort of respond to you more or less the same day, okay? But the expectation is 2 working days on average, but usually it's faster. A bit of my background, I used to be an enterprise architect as well as a project manager in banks and Telstra and lots of other companies. And mainly my project management expertise is really in international project. So I also teach international project management as well too. But nevertheless, whether it's international or local, project management is project management. And the space I'm in terms of managing what sort of activities are mainly in the software development space, as well as building business solutions. Okay, and business solution doesn't always have to be involved in IT, but in today's world, most of it does involve some aspect of IT. So digital service design, digital service management is also my expertise together with project management. Okay, and this is sort of my technical skills and also academic skills. I do have a PhD in multi-site project management, whatever that means, sort of thing. So this is me. And during the tutorial, I'll get to tutor some of you, then we exchange a bit more background, who you are, and I'm sure you'll meet your tutors and do the same. Okay. The tutors are blank, I didn't put it in yet, sweet. Okay. So I guess there's many of you wanting to do project management. What's the reason? What's the reason you want to do project management? Hey? You just like to tell people what to do. Is that the reason? I'm sure part of the reason is, the salary packages. Is it attractive? So if you want to look from a salary perspective, this is the very typical scales for 2017. This is what, if you are an expert in project management, this is the sort of salaries you would get in today's market. Okay? While it sounds very attractive in some of the high-end ones, believe me, it's really, really, really hard work. Especially the higher you earn, the more responsibility you have, and you really work hard, like more than 12 hours a day. Okay, been there, done that, and it's really tough. Okay, the lower you are, it's less demanding because you tend to only focus on one project. The higher you go up, you look after a number of projects. And usually project management is done through teamwork rather than an individual. For small projects, it's individual, but for large projects, you have a team of people supporting you to do project management work. Okay? And sort of give you, if you want to be a project director at a very high end, you need, to be at least 10 years experience to really able to cope with the pressure and knowing what to do. Okay, if you're new to the game, like 1 to 4 years, there's a few of them, and there's very few of them, but they really learn the high learning curve very, very high. Okay, and usually you look at it, it's mainly between at least 10 years, if not more. Okay, and the typical project manager that is a bit lesser, and it's more still again the 10 marks sort of mark to be a competent project manager. There's a lot of people who call themselves project managers, but they're actually project coordinators. Okay, they coordinate people, they coordinate work, that's about it, but they don't really do the real project management work. Okay, so what are we going to learn in applied project management? How many of you have done the 5057, the introduction to project management? Okay, that's good, about half. So you have a fair idea what's involved. For those of you who haven't done it, this is your first time doing project management? Am I correct? Okay. In this one, you don't learn all aspects of project management. We just only focus on 4 dimensions. Okay, what we call the triple constraint, which is about scope management, time management, and budget, triple constraint, and quality management, and to some degree, a little bit about change management across all those 4 knowledge areas. If you do 5057, you get a bit more exposure to other domains of project management, such as communications management, stakeholders management, human resource, risk management, and so forth. So you get the whole spectrum of things. This one, we've only focused about 4, and we go deep. Really go deep in teaching you the methods and the techniques of how do you do scope management, how do you do time management, how do you do cost management and quality management. So we're going deep. And some of you might feel it's a bit quite abstract, quite challenging, and it is. Okay? This course has been redesigned this semester in previous semesters in the past. This course is very much mathematics focused, a lot on networks, maths, and things like that. We redesigned the unit in the unit to actually not so much focusing on the maths. We will still cover some of the maths basics, but we'll more talk about really about the more advanced management methods and techniques using to manage your scope, your time, and your cost. Okay, so these are the sort of areas we'll touch on, and like I said, very much about the triple constraint and quality management, and to some extent, change management. Okay, how in a lecture, I'll try to mix and try to make interesting for you, and I also need you guys to interact with me to make it interesting. Otherwise, it's me going, and then you fall asleep, and sometimes I hear my voice, I do fall asleep as well too. So we're going to have some interaction activities during the lecture as well, so it's like a big, gigantic tutorial as well too. So what you call flipped classroom activities, whereby I get you guys to do work in groups. I walk around to make sure that you understand how to apply the theories into whatever the problem-solving exercise I give you. And some of these flip exercises could be examinable, could be also repeated in the exams. So I do encourage you to actually attend all lectures if possible. If you can't, unable to, catch up with friends who have and catch up your notes, okay? Because I'm not going to sort of rely on the traditional lecture whereby you can rely on the recordings and not come to lecture, because the flipped classroom interaction will give you some ideas of what's involved in applying the theory, as well as some insights, some of the possible exam questions that could come out. And I'm not going to repeat them at the end of semester, which one. Okay? So what is flipped classroom learning? Has anybody heard that jargon before? Okay, I'll show you what it means.
The flipped classroom. The flipped classroom is a new method of teaching that is turning the traditional classroom on its head. Every day, thousands of teachers deliver the exact same lesson in class to millions of students. Every night, millions of students sit over the exact same homework, trying to figure out how to solve it. The flipped classroom is turning this upside down. Traditionally, students listen to lectures and take tests in class, and read textbooks and work on problem sets at home. In flipped teaching, students first study the topic by themselves, typically using video lessons on YouTube, and then apply the knowledge by solving problems and doing practical work in class. Modern schools who flipped their classroom report many benefits. 1. It allows all students to learn at their own pace, as videos can be watched again. 2. It's more efficient, as students enter the classroom prepared to contribute. 3. It enriches the classroom, as more time can be spent on group work and projects. 4. Doing homework in class allows students to help each other, which benefits both the advanced and less advanced learners. Flipping also brings changes for teachers. Traditionally, teachers engage most with the confident students who ask questions. Flipping allows teachers to target the students who really need help, instead of just those who are confident. Also, instead of instructing from the front, teachers guide on the side. This allows them to work more closely with individuals or small groups. Teachers that are not great presenters can use third-party videos to explain the concept and focus on methods of teaching that suit their style, such as project work or experiments. Once video lectures are made available online, teachers don't need to give the same lecture over and over again. Again, they gain more time to focus on the needs of their class. Many scholars also argue that the flipped classroom model promotes equal learning opportunities, as all kids get the same attention when doing their homework. Currently, kids with caring parents, older siblings at home, or expensive private tutors have a clear advantage over those who don't. Let us know what you think. If you were a teacher, tell us if this model would be possible in your classroom. If you were a student, let us know if you would prefer learning in a flipped classroom.
Okay, going back to my notes. So, have an idea what flipped is all about? And guess what? You think flipped classroom activities will work if you don't prepare? You just come in blank. You think it will work? Okay. The flipped classroom activities do really depend a lot on you guys preparing up front, your readings, okay, and a glimpse to the lecture notes. I know that sometimes life is very busy, but if you just flip through the lecture notes, have a bit of understanding what it's about, and ask more questions than being passive listeners as you guys are now, sort of thing. So interact, talk to me, okay? And I'm trying to sort of also introduce conversation style of in terms of my lecture delivering. So I'm having conversations with you, and anytime you want to interrupt me to have ask questions about whatever we're discussing, please do so. Just raise your hand and I'll say yes. Okay, so it's I give you permission to really take this whole experience as conversational sort of learning and be more participative and interactive. Okay? So again, it means that you're going to do your reading. I know it's a big ask, okay? But please try, at least go and before 10 minutes, 5 minutes, in the worst case scenario, just flip through the notes and have an idea of what it is and so forth, okay? Teamwork, forget about this one, okay? Teamwork. What is teamwork? Can you give me your experience of teamwork? Mm-hmm. What's the method? What's the process that you experience doing group work in other units? How do you share the workload? How do you get the work done? Brainstorming. Yep. What else? If you can do a workflow sort of description of what you do, what you've done as teamwork in past units, what's the experience like? Distribution tasks, okay, and then what else? Okay, you do this, you do this, you do this, and then? So you hide in the little corners and space and do whatever you need to do, and then come back, and then? And then what? What do you do? So you finish that, you finish that, you finish that, you all come together, then what? So who does what then? The span of expertise, so you're a good writer, so you write everything. Is that what happens? Or, pardon? Different roles, but how do you bring the work together? How do you have to submit a paper, a group paper. How do you bring it all together?
How generally that someone needs it, they
Yeah, they've done their task. They produce whatever they need to produce. They're all bits of paper. Okay, then what do you do? How do you bring it all together into one report? So you have a master file and people just put in the sections and things like that. Okay, use collaboration too. Others, you might get someone to write it and then create the master file. Is that correct? Sorry guys, that's not really good teamwork. Okay, if you do that in the real world, nobody wants to talk to you. And you'll miss a lot of opportunities. Okay? So what I would like you guys to also develop during this unit is about learning the proper team skills. Okay? Teamwork is about, like you say, collaboration. Collaboration as a group, not individually. Okay? If you sometimes you have no choice but to delegate, you do this, you do that individual work. Okay? Before you delegate out, you need to come together as a group and work out what's the answer to the problem that you're trying to solve as a group, not individually. Okay? And then you have an overall framework, and then you can decide, hey, can you investigate this? You can investigate, and then we come back together to look at what you found and enhance the solution or whatever, or the diagnosis of the problem you're trying to solve as a group again. Okay? If you write something, you must go through the process of sharing with everybody and say, hey guys, this is what I written, what do you think? Can we give some comments and feedback? How to improve on it, or is it lacking? So you have to have this group review. Okay? And in the final paper, a near final paper is actually being developed, what's the last stage before you submit? Proofreading. So how do you do proofreading? Again, preferably as a group. When you review the document in development a couple of times, the whole group who are reviewing that paper as it develops, should also be editing and proofreading as you go along. Okay? So it's everybody's involvement. It's not just like you go away, hide in a little corner and come back and then poof, it just happened. Things come together. Don't do that, because if you do that, you're actually continuing very bad habits, and when we go into the workplace, that's not acceptable. Okay? So group work means group. Everything has to be group. Okay? And this is the basis of how we're going to do our group assignment in this unit. And I'll be monitoring that as well too. Okay. Don't worry about the website, it's not there. Okay, the assessment, have you guys looked at the unit guide? You know what's the assessment to group assignments? Okay, and the horrible, horrible exam at the end. Okay, the exam is only worth 40 marks, so it's not too bad if you're not very a good route learner. And if you do well in your assignment, that's pretty good. So it's not, like in some units, it's actually, the exam is about 60%, which is quite hairy if you're not a very good route learner. Okay? That's it. That one introduction. So any questions so far? I'll just get rid of that one. Okay, this is blah, blah, blah. This is what we're going to do. Today is mainly about, going over what's project management, and most of you have done it one way or the other in either read a book or did 5057. So starting with the fundamentals, the ABC of project management, the first thing we need to understand, what's a project? My whole life is actually made up of projects, including teaching. I treat it as a project as well. And then you guys have many, many projects called units. All the units you're learning. Okay? So what is a project? It's really temporary work to get something done. You produce something. What are you producing? A product? A service? Some results? Okay? So if it's a product, give me examples. application of, oh, an app, okay. Yep, that's a software product. It can also be regarded as a service because nowadays software is either a product or service. What about your assignment paper that you submit? How will I regard that? It's a project, but what am I delivering? A product, a report. Okay. And even this class now, I can regard it as a project. So what am I producing to this interaction? Education. The category, is it product, service, or results? It's a service. You see, the service is intangible. A product is more tangible. Okay? And what about results? Can you give me examples of where project produced results?
Customer satisfaction.
Correct. Or you're in sales and marketing, you make sure you target $1 billion profit in the next 2 years. Okay? So you can come in that form as well. So really, that's what a project is. So everything in your life you can regard as a project, so you can manage it into small chunks or big chunks. Okay? So, because we're doing IT-related projects, okay, so how do we view IT as a product? I think you gave me the example of software. So can you name some software that you can regard as a product from your own experience? Windows? What about Moodle? Yep. Any other examples that you've come across? Pardon? Yep. Even Microsoft Office, your Word, your Excel, those could be regarded as products. Okay? What about services? E-solution, yep. Help desk. Uber, yep, they can classify as a service. The search engine, the findings, yes, you guys got it right, good. And what about results? You have an IT project that creates some business or community results. What is that? What is that? Customer satisfaction, you can say it's a service, but when is the result? Correct. Customer happiness. Okay. Another one is healthcare. Okay. Government wants to invest in hospitals and provide all this community service so that they can have a healthy population, and they have measures to sort of say what does that mean. Okay, so for Monash, if they want to provide this whole course as an IT project, what are they looking for in terms of Monash business results? Employability is another one. Your pass rate. How many students got HD? How many students got credits? How many failed? How many went to do a PhD? Those are results. Okay? So you get an idea of what product, service, and results can mean in different forms. Okay, another thing about projects, which I forgot to mention, is because it's temporary work, it has to have a start date and end date as well. Okay, that's one of the characteristics. Okay, this is what I've been sort of talking about, IT system as a product, because, if you look at things, if you look at IT system, it's made out of people, it's made out of data, it's made out of processes, technology. You bundle them together to make something tangible. Okay? And the bundle services, we look at different software. You can look at it, organization services like customer relationship, ERP, and you can even look at ecosystems as well too. Okay? And this one, this is your phone. The phone is actually a bundle product or a bundle service-oriented product. You can call it a product, you can call it a service. because it contains a physical device, your phone device itself, therefore you say it's a product. It has lots of apps. The apps are services. And then you also can connect with help desk and things like that. That's the people behind it. Again, it's service. Okay? And then it connects to the cloud, again, as a service. Okay? But what's the result of that product or service? What's the end result? What's the end outcome? What's the benefit? As you, consumer first, look at you from consumer. What's the end result of using that?
Make people life easier. Make people life easier.
Yes, make your life easier. You're more social. You got friends to talk to. You can gossip. Okay, so all those social benefits are really the results of this product and service as well. So when you develop IT products and services, you can also potentially contribute to results development as well. All right? Okay, that's so much about what project work is about. Let's go now dive into project management. So what's involved? Anyone here have done project management work in one shape or one form or the other, whether it's in uni or real work environment? Okay, what's your experience in doing project management work?
It was really hard because I was working with the government.
Mm-hmm.
And they put in front policies
Yeah.
and government rules before project management.
Yep.
So it's very hard to convince them that it's really important to do project management and how you do it, because you have to plan first. It's
Yep.
the most important part of the project management. And they didn't care that much. They asked the things like right away, like for tomorrow or for today. So it was really hard, and it was difficult to organize all the tasks that we had to do working as a team, because much of the people, they didn't know about our project team. So they find us like when they were finishing the project. So we were like working
Really hard,
Yeah.
and then they keep changing their mind.
Yeah, and they change the scope all the time and the product. It was really, really hard for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was in charge of my team, so yeah, it was.
Okay. It sounds like an organization doesn't quite understand or quite practice disciplined project management. So anything goes. And if you work in that organization, my advice to you is to get out as soon as you can. Seriously, it's not worth it. Okay? And work for proper organization whereby they understand what project management is. Okay? Project management, if you look at the process at a very high level, there are 5 groups, 5 process groups. Number 1, you've got to plan. You've got to plan what you're going to do. And planning exists in two levels. Okay? When you're initiating a new project, you do some very high-level preliminary planning. And that's what you say, you're initiating, you plan at a very high level. So the estimates that you give in terms of what solution you're trying to build, what's the timeline, what's the budget, are very much high-level ballpark figures. Okay? But you also have to build a business case to convince that, okay, you guys are going to spend that much money, what's the value add, what's the benefit? And if you can convince the investors or the sponsors to say, yes, the business case is there, and they say, go ahead with the project, done deal. You've got an approved project, whereby you can now start the project officially, and that's where you go in doing the detailed planning. Okay, the detailed planning, you've got to commit. Okay, at the high level initiation planning, you're a bit like, you heard about the chicken and the pig in terms of who has the most commitment. Okay, the chicken lays the eggs, the commitment is there. The pig provides the bacon. So we're talking about having breakfast. The chicken gives the egg, big deal, and the pigs give the bacon. Who is more committed? Okay? At the initiation level, when you plan, you're like the chicken. You just, give the eggs for breakfast. But when it's approved, and you go to planning details, you become like the pig that has to provide the bacon for breakfast. The commitment is there. And if it doesn't work, who's accountable? You as the project manager will be the one accountable for what works and what doesn't work, because you're the one who planned it up front at the very beginning in details. Okay? And that planning is very important, because if you do it right, you should be okay. If you don't do it right, you will be hitting a lot of problems. And very stressful, and sometimes you do get the blame if you don't know how to play the politics. Okay? And once you plan well, assuming you plan well, then executing it is you have a real good idea how you're going to manage anything that's going to impact the execution of the development work. Okay? And manage risk, manage internally, externally, and when people leave, you know what to do, that sort of thing. So with the very detailed project plan, you are very aware of what's happening, and you can come and intervene and get things going when there are blockages and barriers in the whole execution phase. Okay? And assuming that goes well, you finish and you deliver. You're going to also officially close the project by doing some other administration work to make sure everything, every paperwork, especially when you have contract staff and things like that, to actually finish all those contract agreements and things like that, and make sure all administration paper is finished, then you say officially closed. Okay? So there are 5 big groups, and all this break down into very small, and a number of very detailed steps as you look at the PMBOK manual. Okay. Now we're talking about PMBOK. PMBOK stands for Project Management Body of Knowledge. Okay, it's actually a best practice guide for sort of helping you to understand what's involved in project in terms of planning at either of the levels, high level or detail level, the execution, and the management in terms of monitoring, controlling, and closure work as well. So it actually is quite a good guide that tells you step by step. I also give you the templates for your reports that you will create as part of project management work. Okay, so it's a pretty good best practice standard. Has anybody heard of Prince 2? What's Prince 2? It's alternative. And it's more prescriptive. That means everything is a bit more detailed than PMBOK. PMBOK is more general guidelines. You follow, use your own discretion. Whereas Prince 2, you're going to follow step by step, and they give you lots and lots of templates. If you're a first learner of project management, working in an environment using Prince 2 is pretty good. But once you get experience, you don't want to use Prince 2 because it's very bureaucratic, very administrative to follow this and follow that. Okay, you rather use PMBOK. Okay, and PMBOK tend to be used more in industry and as well as government, whereas Prince 2 tend to be used in more government agencies, especially if you're working for defense. Because defense needs to be very accurate. Everything needs to be very prescriptive. Okay. Any questions on so far? Everybody following the story? Good. So what's inside PMBOK? I'd like you guys to go into the library and pick up the PMBOK 5th edition. Very important you know how to access it. It's in the library, it's online, it's available to you as students. Okay, if you are not students and you pay for it, it will cost you over $100 for that manual. It's free to you using the library, and make sure you know how to access in the library. Open it up now. Those who have a device. If you haven't got your device here today, I suggest you go home and try locating where it is, because it's your best friend in project management. You need it in this unit, you need it in 5057, you need it in the international project management as well. And even when you go to work. Okay, especially in organization where there's no project management structure, use this. Okay? And the copy in the library, the online copy in the library, you can actually download the PDF file. Well, I suggest you guys to do that, because it's really a very helpful learning tool as well as a workplace support tool later on down your career. Okay, so these are the sort of things that it would contain to actually all the different discipline of project management work to support doing all these big high-level functions, okay? Okay, for those of you who've done 5057, can somebody explain what knowledge areas are? Okay, when you use PMBOK, you need to understand the terminology called knowledge areas. What are they? What are they? What are knowledge areas?
So listed out there, knowledge areas.
Good, you know. Yes, starting from project integration, right down to 13, project stakeholders, this is what's called knowledge area. Okay? Knowledge area is just a label, just a word, but what exactly does that mean when you're doing project management? So those are from topic 4 to 13. What does it mean when you're actually applying project management, when you're doing project management work itself?
These are the areas you need to cover or concentrate while managing the project. It is not a single attribute, all the attributes you need to keep in mind.
It's really the skill areas that you need to have. Okay, you need to integrate everything, integration skills. You need to know how to do scope. You need to know how to schedule time, develop budgets and manage budgets. Okay, you need to know how to recruit the right people, manage them, and give them training and so forth. You need to communicate both in written, oral, and even online. Okay, so really all those knowledge areas are the skill sets that you as a project manager needs to develop over time. And it's not just about being technical. You have to have people skills. You have to have process skills. Okay, and you need to also have risk management skills. And you notice the people, really the three aspects of people skills is very important. Stakeholders, how do you manage people? Who are they? You profile them. Human resource, recruiting the right people, training them. And communications is about communicating where you're at in your project to people, engaging them as well. Okay, so you need those people skills as well as the hard skills. Okay, what's inside project management? Again, it's all about, all the micro steps you need to support project planning, initiation, execution, and so forth. So the whole guide is all about what you need to do step by step. Okay, and I did mention the knowledge areas, which I'm going to. Okay, that's project management in general. But when you look at organizational project management as a collective noun, and I use the word projects, the word projects actually can mean it's a portfolio, it's a program, or it's a project. Okay, it can be structured in those three sort of instruments. Okay, so the structure of it, if you look at the PMBOK, what's a portfolio? And what's the program?
Several project-related programs, and portfolio, not necessarily.
Program is always the projects interrelated to create something big. Okay? A portfolio is a grouping of programs and independent projects. But what does a portfolio do?
Integration among various projects, integration among multiple projects, integration among the various
Program does that. A program integrates interrelated projects to create something else, something bigger. Okay? A portfolio is something different. It does include programs to integrate a number of related projects. It also have a number of independent projects. But all of them exist for a reason. What's that reason? This is create a what? A program can do that too. A project can do that too. A portfolio can also do that, but portfolio is a bit more special. It's usually linked to strategy. Portfolios are the, if you like, the management structure for delivering strategies. Okay, for those of you who learned international project management with me this unit, you learn a bit more about that, because international projects tend to have much more focus on portfolios because international projects deliver international strategies of the firm. Okay, the project that you do may be a portfolio that you, in other words, you'll be a portfolio manager looking at a number of programs and projects with the purpose of supporting the deployment or the implementation of some strategic requirements. And you've reached that sort of responsibility in the project management career path, you're at the top of the food chain, basically. Okay? Okay, and this is what I say, organization strategy. It gets implemented to portfolios, and the portfolios can contain a number of projects or programs. Okay, this is how it works. So strategies, now we're talking about strategies. What are strategies?
Approaches or methods you need to follow for the successful completion of the project.
No, strategies are actually not projects. Strategies are something else. They use projects to help to be implemented. But strategies on its own, what are they? You hear, anybody here coming from the business school? Anyone here have a business background? So have you learned strategic management? Nope.
Yeah, I think there are like a framework and a few steps that you choose to reach a certain objective.
A business objective, yeah. And usually those business objective links to making profit, market share. Okay? Companies want to make big profit. They want to capture market shares or deepen existing market share. How do they do it? They go smart, streetwise. And the approaches that they take to actually achieve high profits, deepen existing market shares, create new ones, are what you call strategies. Okay? Some of them are smart strategies. Some of them are pretty mediocre. Okay? Any example of smart strategies that you've heard in the newspapers, read about it? Yep.
I think it's a smart strategy from Apple, for instance. They're forcing users to use one cable. On the iPhone 7, for instance, instead of using the audio jack, they're just switching for lightning cable, and they will do it basically on all the phones. So
Yep.
And also in the new MacBook, they're forcing users to use the new Thunderbolt 3 port.
Yep.
So they're trying to get rid of all the old technology to
Use those.
new.
And why do they force people to use or encourage people to use those devices and those
Because
stuff?
They're faster, and it's basically what's going to be the future in a few years. And cut off the competition. Yeah, also.
So they're coming to cut off the competition, and also they don't want to carry old technology later on because it costs money. So they're using the strategy not only to put you in front of technology, that you'll be the end user using the latest technology, but from a cost perspective, they don't have to carry the burden of maintaining old technologies in the future as well too. So for that point of view, profit is equal to sales minus costs. If you can increase sales and decrease costs, guess what? Your profit margin expands.
And they also earn money for the adapters.
Yes. So upselling.
Yeah.
Yep. And Microsoft have also a strategy. What's the strategy? Every time I see the ad, they have a lot of new PCs from different vendors come in, and then all of a sudden at the end, Microsoft. HP, they show the latest PC or whatever, and then Microsoft comes at the end of the ad.
Yeah, they're trying to compete with Apple right now. They have like a tablet, PC, So trying to compete with Apple in the same segment, the same area. I think so. I think they're not doing this. They're trying.
They are competing but using different strategies. So what's the Microsoft strategy? They're into HP devices, they're into Dell, they're into other, I think, other. So what's the strategy?
I think they're trying to change from selling products of software into services. So for example, like the Office 365, instead of selling a particular license for one PC and customers have to pay $600, instead they just sell it for $10 a month. And they have a more steady stream of revenue each month from customers, while customers are benefited with, they can license it to 5 different devices and they can switch, mix and match different devices while still keeping a more affordable price.
Okay, you can look at in details, this is what they're doing, but at a very high level in terms of the business strategy, Apple, very sharp, sort of targeted, like a spear, throwing a spear, very, you're targeted and focused, you throw that spear. The Microsoft strategy is very casting the net. You throw in the net to cast the market share, okay? Because they go into Dell, they go into HP and so forth. What they're doing, they're actually making the operating system reusable in a number of hardware products. They're casting the net. Whereas Apple is very much a spear and target and you hit and people follow, that sort of thing. Very different strategies. Okay, which works better? Don't know, but they're very different. Okay, so that's what meant by strategies. And those strategies are about business approaches to capture market shares, sustain market shares, that sort of thing, and make high profits in the future. Okay, and when you try to sort of say, okay, fine, how do you implement that? A lot of things need to be done, a lot of actions need to be taken. So how do you manage all those actions that deliver those strategies? And that's why project management in an organization perspective comes in. You actually think about the implementation of those strategies in terms of portfolios, in terms of programs, in terms of projects. And that's how you structure the implementation of strategies through those project forms. Make sense? Okay, when you talk about strategies, because this will relate to the type of project you're doing, whether you're doing the real strategic one or something unimportant, it will relate. So you need to understand the different levels of strategies. The corporate level strategies, it means it's for the whole organization, and if it's an international organization, it means worldwide. Okay? And then you have the business unit strategies, all the departments, all the business units that make up the organization. They will interpret what the corporate strategy is all about and how they can contribute to achieve those corporate objectives through their own individual business unit strategies. Okay, so it goes to the next level. And then within the business unit strategies, they will have like, hey, how are we going to do it? What functional capabilities that we need to develop or get rid of? What new products and services we need to develop? So very much geared at the functional strategies that you try to interpret. What does the business unit strategy means in terms of actual deeper down implementation? Okay, and as you can see, your project will also follow, are you doing it at the corporate level? Usually portfolio tend to be corporate level, so is program. Okay, business unit strategy tend to be, again, can use portfolio, program, or projects, and so forth for the functional strategies as well. Okay. The analogy is like, I'm sure most of you have been exposed to playing Lego when you're younger. Okay, the Lego pieces that you have. Okay, the Lego pieces, think of them, they are like portfolios, programs, and projects. And you assemble them into making the cars, the houses, the township. Okay, the township is like the portfolio. The cars, the houses, like the programs. Okay, so the projects being the portfolio programs and projects are really like your little Lego pieces. And you build them at different levels of the strategy. From township to the cars and houses and then right down to whatever you're trying to build as the component Okay? Yep.
What's the differences between the project and the program?
Project is at a lower level. It can, when they all interrelate together, when they have to integrate to produce, say, a product or a service, then you use the program structure to manage the integration. So a program is always a group of interrelated projects to deliver some consolidated products or services or some results. But if it's just a project standalone, it's just standalone. Okay?
So do you mean that project program is made of a lot of projects? So that the program is made of a lot of projects.
Interrelated, has to be interrelated.
So it means that the project is lower than the program.
Pardon?
Is the project lower than the program?
Yes. But it can be independent and same level as the program. So if they are interrelated and they need to be grouped together to produce some consolidated product, then you call them a program. Yeah, because it's a group of interrelated projects. All right? Okay. When organizations determine their strategies, whether it's at corporate level, business unit level, or functional level, they normally restructure the organization. Okay? When you restructure the organization, what does it mean? Especially those who've done business studies before. And if next time when you guys work for big companies and multinational firms, they always restructure every time a new strategy comes out. What does restructuring means? It's a hierarchy of work. They're grouping the work and give you a response. Say, hey, you're the general manager. Hey, you look after international. Hey, you look after marketing and sales. So they're trying to reorganize all the activities, the work activities in the organization by groups. Okay, and the groups can form the business unit and the sub-business unit. Okay, and they reorganize it in such a way that they actually support and enhance the delivery or the implementation of the business strategy. Okay, so if you do business studies, you always hear this phrase, structure follows strategies. That means depending on the nature of the strategy, your organization structure could be changed. And the patterns of how you actually reorganize the work activities organization, the various patterns, there are about 5 patterns, what you call functional. That means you group your work activities by functions, major functions, marketing and sales, accounting, IT, and so forth. Or you can group them by products. This will be the hardware products. This was selling software. These are integrated solutions. Okay? Or you can integrate by markets. This look after retail market, wholesale market. And the other one is, whatever, retail, wholesale, what else? Any other markets you can think of? Emerging markets or something like that. So you can do that. Geographical will be Australian operations, New Zealand operations, Brazil, international, and so forth. Or you can have metrics, that means a mix of everything. So these are the different patterns of how you restructure, redesign the grouping of work activities within the organization, and you call that the organization structure. Okay? When you read the annual reports of big firms, you see the organization structure. Is actually, if you know how to read organization structure, you have a bit of a clue what they're trying to do from a strategic point of view. Okay? So these are very basic business principles, but I thought you guys should be aware of it because, later on in life, when you are fortunate to work in projects that are very strategic, you need to understand all these ground rules of where strategy comes in and impact your project work. Okay. So this more or less summarized the whole thing. I won't go repeat. You guys want a break? 5 minutes break? Yep. So have fun and then go and then we'll continue. Yep.
I have a question. I am not enrolled in this course yet, so I wanted to know how could I manage to go to the tutorials? Is
you're not enrolled, you're not in any tutorial.
Yes, I know.
But you can go and just.
Because I'm asking for an exemption for a subject.
Yep.
So after I can ask them, then I will take this subject.
Yes. So you just attend the tutorial
Yeah.
stage.
Should I talk with the tutor or with you?
Usually, you want to enroll, you talk to the administrators, and then which tube you're going to depend on allocate you to the rest of the free tubes. Yeah, we don't get to have a say in the script record.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask after the tutorial, because there is a tutorial after this class.
Yeah, you can go for that one and see what happens first.
Yeah?
And then later go through the formal process. and
Yeah,
go
because
back.
I don't want to lose classes. That's why I'm starting to come.
But once you get enrolled, then you allocate class, and then you go back to the class. You can tell tutor and finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I sent you the email and you said you don't monitor or allocate until just come around regarding laboratory. So you mean you just can show up to the laboratory and we look how many people are there? Or
Yeah, depending on how if it's not too full, then you can stay. If it's too full,
what room are guys in?
it's all new to me too. So it will be in C121. Hopefully it's not too full.
Yeah, I can just, because if not, I just go to mine after that.
Yeah.
Can I just take a picture? Thank you.
Okay.
See you later.
Okay. Yep. And really focus on it's a very general. I mean, theory sounds this should be helpful because let's get started again. Before the break, you also learn about portfolio and how it interrelate with strategy in terms of helping to implement strategy. So if you're going to look after a portfolio, what's the nature of work you're going to do? This diagram would give you an idea. Okay, you've got to definitely know about strategy because you've got to understand which strategy are you implementing. So there's an element of strategic management. Okay, and there's also governance. Portfolio governance. What is governance? What's governance? I used to work in banks, so I eat, breathe, and live governance. What does that mean? What's governance? And your example that you talk about, whereby they always say policies and this and that, they actually, those things are governance related as well. So what is governance? What is governance?
Set of rules to follow.
Correct. It's a framework of rules. The rules can be in the form of laws in a country, could be international laws or country-specific laws. It can be in the form of policies. It can also be in the form of best practice standards that you had to follow and comply with. Okay? And it can also be in the form of conduct expectations. Okay? When you comply to governance, that means the set of rules of an organization, you've got to make sure those rules are reflected in your portfolio, in your program, in your project. Okay? And how those rules compliance play out is through your behavior, your decision making, the documentation you've done. Okay? And that's why I say working in the banking environment, I have to eat, breathe, and live governance. Because you need to understand the rules and how it reflects in my behavior, how it reflects in the work that I'm doing right down to the report. Okay? So this is what, when you do a portfolio, you need to understand what are the governance, the rules of organization that you've got to enforce in the programs and projects. Okay? And you do performance management. What's performance management? Don't forget portfolios are meant to implement strategies. So when you do performance management, what does that mean? It could be people. Performance management in this sense, how you achieve the strategy. Show me the measures. Show me the performance measures. It could be in matrix form. It could be your profit and loss. It could be your market shares, numbers, anything. Okay, but many business-related performance measures. And what about risk management? Risk management also exists in program, in this project, but from a portfolio perspective, what do you think risk management is about? Again, it's linked to strategy.
You have to avoid lose time, money, changing the scope. So you have to be aware all of the things. So you have to require all the risk management related about budget, about time, about quality, about integration, about everything.
Yeah, in fact, portfolio program all does that sort of thing. But portfolio is slightly different in a sense because it's related to strategy. The risks also involve monitoring and managing external risk. Okay, to the external risks like, anybody can give me any idea? Competition, market changes, business change, the environment change. Okay, and portfolio also has to manage internal risk, which are related to your program, which are related to your project, and other organizational issues. Okay? So as a portfolio manager, you are a bit like the strategies. You're actually the implementation friend of strategies, and you're helping to do their work. Okay? But we're not going to learn that. We're going to focus more on program and projects in this unit learning. Okay? So when we look at the program and project phases, all of them got that. Okay, this is, what are we looking at here now? These are the 5 phases of project work as well as program work. And you can see the level of activities. Can somebody explain what this graph means? It's nice showing you a graph, but what does it really mean?
Each step of the program project. Then how much activities or efforts you need to give from the start to the finish through the whole lifetime of the project. How much activities or how much effort you need to give in a two-dimensional curve.
Yes, yes. You're looking at how much time do you spend in each of the 5 areas, basically. So initiation, you spend some time, okay, at the very beginning. You can see the little curve. And when you go, and when once your program or project's approved, then you spend a lot of time doing the detail planning. And then when you go into executing, it sort of taper off. Because when you execute, you shouldn't be doing a lot of planning. You should be reducing. And that's what this is saying. Okay, this is, initially you plan, you say approve, go ahead, you plan. And then once execution starts, you should be reducing planning. You shouldn't be going up again, because otherwise there's something wrong with your plan. And as you do more and more of the development work, you're executing it, okay, then your monitoring has to be, rise up and it flatten up after a while. And closing, yes, you go at the end, and this is the amount of work. So you look at that execution, it's where you actually do a lot. From a project management point of view, you're doing this piece of work. Monitoring, because execution will be your team, your developers, the users, all doing their work. But you got to watch over them like a hawk. And you're doing monitoring, controlling. You see, everything they're doing is okay. Sometimes you get involved, but you shouldn't get too involved in what they're doing. You shouldn't be doing execution work. You should be watching what they're doing and make sure that they're all running smoothly. Any problems they have, you go and help them to solve the problem. Make sure that everything is on time, on track. Okay, thing goes wrong, you have to be at first sight and say, what's wrong? What's the issue? And then you talk to people, find out the causes, and quickly mitigate the problems in the causes. Okay? Okay, different levels of project management. Okay, we're going back to the 5, initiation process. This relates to what sort of project? What sort of project? When do you do initiation planning? You do it every project, but specifically the conditions that you would start doing initiation planning. You've got a new project. Anybody here involved in starting own business and things like that? You've got an idea, okay? You got an idea and you want to turn it into a product. How do you capture that idea and a translation of product and then present that to the investors? Okay? That piece of work is actually your initiation planning. You've got an idea, you want to explore it, and you say, this is how I'm going to do it, how much I need, so that you can present the project plan, the initiation project plan, to the potential sponsors. Say, hey, will you back me up? Will you pay to finance me to do this startup business? Okay, that's potentially initiation. It's a new idea, new project. Okay, so what is it that you produce? The business case is very important. Okay, the business case is actually in part of the project charter. Okay, why is the business case important? Why is the business case important? Any idea?
To understand the requirements of a business, requirements can be
Yeah, it's very important because whoever is going to fund your project has to be convinced. What's the value add to me? And if I'm going to give you money to do the project, tell me what benefits, what value add do I get? But you're going to convince me. I'll make a decision, but you give me your business case. If there's no business case, I say, go away. You pitch the business case, but I'm not that dumb. I know what to expect from a business case. You can market and do all the buzzwords and things like that. But say, I won't buy into it. I just want to look at your business case. Looking at the quality of contents, I'll decide whether I want to fund you or not. Okay? So the business case is really about, for those of you who have done 5457, a bit of revision, what's in the business case? The objectives, cost benefit. But in order to determine the cost that you need and the benefits, so to say, okay, invest this money into this project, and the benefits are bang, bang, bang. And I said, ooh, that looks interesting. So if I put in $1 million, I'm supposed to get $5 million within 12 months. That's pretty attractive. But I need to know, what am I investing in? So what's the scope? What's the product? What's the service that you're proposing? When can I have it? Timelines. And the other one, what would I ask? Yes. How risky is your project? If it's low risk, not bad. If it's medium risk, maybe. If it's high risk, depending whether I'm a high risk taker or a low risk taker, I may or may not take it. So I'll look at your cost benefit proposition, that's where you pitch, but I also look at your risk analysis to say whether I'm willing to take that potential profit for the, related to what risk exposure I'm willing to sort of be exposed to. So all depending on my risk tolerance. If I want high returns and high risk, then most probably I would take that. If I have one high return and low risk, I say no if it's high risk. So that's will be the basis of my decision making if I'm the sponsor or the fund manager. Okay, so this is what initiation is all about, a new project that you're pitching to get money. And if they approve, you say yes. Okay, if they don't, oh well, try again. Another time, or maybe you guys are the wrong people. I should approach somebody else. Okay, and this is for startup. What about large organization? How do they, why do they need this process in large organization? You work for banks, you work for Telstra, you work for all these multinationals. Even Monash, you say, oh yeah, new project. It has to go through some board, and you got to propose their business case, and they say yes, no, and only certain amount of projects get approved, and the rest get rejected. So there will be an investment, a capital investment board that look at all new projects proposal, and they'll look at the business case to decide which goes ahead, which gets dropped out. Okay, anyone did enterprise architecture? Anyone here did enterprise architecture? If you remember the capital investment board review, that's that process. Okay, so once you get approval, that's where you start detailed project management, which is the next phase, the planning process itself. Okay, and that's where you say you can have $5 million, and now give me a detailed plan how you're going to spend that money and when you're going to spend it. So you're going to tell me exactly what you're building. Okay, you're going to tell me when you're going to deliver bits and pieces of it and the final outcome, and when you're going to spend in bits and pieces and the total budget, and what the risk and the risk involved. Are you capable of managing it? If you're not, sorry, I'm not going to employ you. Get somebody else to do it. And other things too, like managing people, stakeholder analysis, HR, communications, and so forth. Okay, and that's where you do in the planning process, the detailed planning process. So now you can see there's two levels of planning, one high level, ballpark, and one very detailed. And as a project manager, you could be recruited at this level, or you could be recruited at that level. Okay, if you're recruited at this level, then you're also responsible for doing this planning. If you are recruited at this level, you need to understand what's here in order to meet the total budget, to meet all those business case criteria. The business case will tell you when it will be delivered, what's the total cost, and the risk. Recruit. What was that? Okay, so if you're a new project manager assigned at the detail level, you need to understand the business case, because that becomes a very broad criteria that you have to meet in terms of your detail, nitty-gritty details. Okay? Okay, the success and the bombs, that means the strengths and weaknesses of project management, lies in your triple constraint and quality management. And I'm sure for those who did 5057, you heard triple constraint, okay? If you don't know how to manage scope, costs, and schedule effectively, think of a career change. Seriously. Because this is what will make or break you as a project manager. Okay? The inability to manage the triple constraint, that means scope, cost, and schedule, will impact the quality of your final outcome. Okay? So if you don't understand how to manage all this triple constraint and the impact on quality of the project, quality management of the project, then it's really, you're not there. You really, you've got to consider your career path as a project manager. Because this is what makes or break a project manager. Okay? So the triple constraint in quality management. What does it mean? Let's start with scope. What's scope? Requirement of what?
That's like a boundary of the requirement, which are the things to be included and what are the things to be excluded.
But the requirement, what's the requirement? Everything is a requirement. What's the purpose of the requirement?
Collection of business cases.
It could be business, it could be technical.
What services we have to provide and what we will exclude.
Remember, a project is temporary work to produce some product, service, or result. When you talk about scope, what exactly is your product? What exactly is your service? What exactly is your result? So scope is two-dimensional. For those who didn't get it in 5057, always remember scope is two-dimensional. One is product scope, and one is a work breakdown scope, or what sometimes they call project scope, which is also very confusing. Product scope, what's product scope? What's the design of your product, the design of the service, and the final outcome that you're trying to deliver? If you can't visualize that, you don't know what you're building. Okay? So when you produce IT products, when you talk about product scope, what is that? What's the nature of work when you do product scoping for IT projects? Functions and capabilities. Yeah, go on a bit more. You're getting close. Yes, you can also include that. And for those who were in my tutorial class, some of you are, what did I teach you in my tutorial class in 5057 when I talk about product scope? The design, architecture design of your solution, IT solution. What are data requirements? What are process requirements? What are hardware requirements? What are software requirements? Okay, so you're talking about system design, solution design from an IT perspective. You'll be doing data modeling, you'll be doing process modeling, you'll be doing use cases, and so forth. Okay? So if you don't understand you don't do product scope, you will never know what you're going to do. Okay? But once you understand what you're going to build in terms of some sort of a design framework, then it's so much easier to understand what work is involved to build that particular product or service. And that's where you go and define the work breakdown structure. It's really about what work activities and how they break down into tasks to actually deliver that particular design into real products and services. Okay, and that's where you talk about work breakdown. So the product is very much about, the product scope is very much about what are you building, and the work breakdown structure, sometimes they call project scope, is how you're going to build it, the what and how. Okay, once you define that, you have a very, very clear understanding how your product looks like and how you're going to build it. Okay, with that sort of information, then you can do the time management. Okay, I've got these little components that I've got to build, tests, and do whatever. So who's going to do it? And that's where the time components say how much effort, duration, schedule, all that work breakdown into some sort of schedule sequence, and say, okay, we're going to build this. This is how and when we're going to do it. And then you can do this, you can do that. So your schedule have also people allocated to it. And all of a sudden you realize that, okay, it takes about 100 days. Yep, my clients say they want it in 150 days. Ooh, that's quite good. Maybe I can fatten a bit. If they want it in 150 days and they say, oops, mine is 200 days, something wrong, I have to bring back my scheduling to meet their deadlines. Okay? And once you identify a schedule, that means you know how much effort, how long, then you do budget. Because in order to do budget, you need to understand labor. Labor is measured in terms of effort. Man days, man months. Okay, if you don't know labor costs, you can't calculate labor costs, you don't know how much effort is required. Okay? And the common mistakes for inexperienced project managers, they skip product scope and go straight into work breakdown scope. Or sometimes they even start the budgeting without doing a proper work breakdown scope. Okay? So I'm telling you guys, always make sure you understand product scope first. That's the number one step. Then you go work breakdown, then you go schedule, then you finally go cost. Don't try to skip the sequence. You'll get lost and you'll get confused. All right? Change management. What's change management? Changes come and go like changes. Why do we need to manage change in project work? Some
Changes in the requirement, dynamic changes in the requirement from the user's perspective.
I can always say blame the users, they don't know what they want. But sometimes it's not just easy to blame the users, it's actually within the team, shit, we didn't know we had to do this. When you do a design, sometimes you don't know how deep to go, and sometimes you might be too high level, and you didn't go deep enough. And so when you do your development, you realize, oh, something is missing, then I only realize it then and there. So all of a sudden, your scope changes. Your scope change is not about the business requirement change. They haven't changed. You just forgot something in the technical. When you're going deep to work out the technical components, you forgot something, and the scope change should come from the technical perspective. Okay, so that comes internally, not necessarily the users not knowing what they want, or they have defined the wrong requirements, or keep changing their mind. Sometimes it could be the technical people not going deep enough in their product scoping to understand all the parts that should be there is there. Especially when you're dealing with new technology change, okay, and you are experimenting, so there's an element of risk that you might miss out something in your scoping. Okay? So you're going to manage scope changes, time changes. Usually when you have scope changes, impact time, impact cost. Okay? But sometimes the time changes come directly from the end users because the market conditions, the business conditions have changed. And instead of wanting it in 100 days, they want it in 50 days. And they say, hey, and what do you do then? You say, hey, you want this in 100 days, now you're telling me you want it in 50 days. What would you do as a project manager? Hmm? Increase the manpower and try to meet the deadlines. I wouldn't do that. When the users say jump, do you say jump how high? That's what you're saying. You don't always have to listen to the end user. You negotiate with them. Say, sure, I can give you 50 days, but, the big but, okay, reduce scope. You got to decide which features with functionality can go so it can meet your deadline. You see, you can't have everything. Okay, you have everything, even though you have everything, you've got to increase budget. I can put in more people, because if I put more people, I need more money. Correct? So if you want me to meet your 50 days time frame, increase my budget. Okay? However, there's a risk involved. Doesn't mean you put in lots of people, it still work. There's still an element of risk. So you got to be also careful. So you got to be a negotiator, know how to negotiate, and know how to understand change, the impact on the triple constraint, and negotiate with that knowledge. Okay? When users tell you to say, I want this, say, oh, so are you sure? And how do you handle that sort of very, very difficult users? So I don't care, I want it. But you know it's impossible without giving something either quality or cost or time. So how will you handle those very difficult users? Abandon the project, walk out. That's one way of doing it. You say, you think you can do it? Do it, I'm walking out. Yeah, well, you can do that sometimes, especially if they depend a lot on you. You give them a range, okay? I'll meet your criteria, but the risks are there, and you label what the risks are, okay? You take my solution, the risks are lower, and the impact is such. So you give them a range of possibility with different risk exposure, and you say, pick one. Okay, if you pick the wrong choice, you say, sorry, I mean, I can do it, but when things doesn't work out, I'll already pre-warn you. So it's a bit like your mother or your girlfriends or your wife who always nag you, I told you so, I told you so. Okay, so you can do that too. So you make sure that it's all documented, different solutions to it, and you give the choice to the end user. If they pick the wrong one, and then when the shit hits the fan later down the track, you say, hey, I told you that there are better options. You didn't take my advice. So when the shit hit the fence, let's not blame one another. Let's work together to solve the problem. And that's how you get away with it. Otherwise, the blame game becomes very, very real. And if you don't know how to handle that sort of politics, you get blamed very easily, even though it's not your fault. Okay, so they need to have some human skills and some negotiation skills as part of being a project manager. Okay. Earned value management, or EVM. What is that? What is that? Talk about triple constraint. It produces a graph that shows the baseline of your work breakdown and your timeline. What's all that? What's all that? So you're trying to monitor money and time through this graph. So it's a management technique for monitoring your relationship between cost and the time of your project. So you're trying to actually manage the budget and the schedule together through a graphical sort of format and use sort of charting. But as a manager, how would you use the information? So for example, you're given that information. Okay, the red one is the actual cost, that means the real money that you're spending. The blue one is actually the planned, originally planned cost, and then the green one is what you call the earned value cost. What's the current budgeted cost? What does it all mean? In the first place, why do you do planning? Let's look at this schedule and cost. Why do you plan the budget and the schedule timeline?
Because we have limited resources.
You have limited resources, okay, and then you plan whether it's, how realistic is it to the time frame to deliver it and how much you will spend. You say, you sort of plan to say, this estimates, I should be able to do this with that amount of money. Okay, that's plan. But in reality, when it comes to the real work, when execution starts, sometimes it doesn't really quite happen as you plan. And that's where the red one comes in. Actually, how much did you spend? How much were you late or under in terms of your schedule? So you have to track the actual results versus your plan performance. So your actual performance and your plan for one, you've got to track. So that comes to red and the original blue. Okay? And then sometimes down the track say, hey, I think I made a mistake in my cost estimate. I've got to revise my budget. Sorry guys, I've got to revise my plan. So can I, instead of following the original baseline, can I now have what you call a revised plan, which I want now call the earned value cost or time or whatever it is, to revise it. Okay, and let's track the whole project using the revised baseline instead of the original. Okay? So this is what you do. So you use this graph to track, okay, originally you told me, okay, if you use this line, you told me you're going to spend this much money by then, by this time frame, you're going to spend that much money. But when it comes to happen, you're spending more. Okay, something is wrong with your original plan. Say, I made a mistake. Can I replan? So say, okay, the revised plan should be like this. So when you compare your actual performance, then you are only comparing the variance, the gaps here, okay? But the sponsors want to know what was your original baseline versus your most current baseline. Why do you need this information? You say, let's forget the blue one and just show the green and the red one. It's too embarrassing to show the blue one because I made a mistake. But I said, no, we need that. We need the blue one. Why do you need to keep that sort of information? Because as an organization, you actually, you do make mistakes. You also want to understand what's the reason for mistakes, and information like this could also help you to analyze, what mistakes were made by the team. They're not blaming you. There'll be a lot of factors that happen that you have to revise your original baseline. But they want to know, as an organization, what have they done wrong, lessons learned, so they won't repeat it next time around. So they keep all this information, not so much about, say, it's to blame you or whatever, but they actually, as an organization, what can we learn from this project once it's finished? The mistakes that we make as a team. It's not about you making the mistakes or things like that, but it's about as a team. And how can we prevent it in the next similar experience? Okay? But also, as a project manager yourself, you also give you a chance to realize that next time I did, in hindsight, I shouldn't have assumed things I didn't know. I should put in more assumptions. So you also will learn individually and improve your skills as a result. Okay? It's not so much a blame game using that graph, but it's actually for ongoing continuous learning and continuous improvement. Okay? Okay, this is very much in layman's terms what it is, which I sort of explained now what we plan to do, what we did, and how much it costs us, so it's tracking that sort of information. Okay. How does it look like in terms of reporting? This is the very typical sort of this example, how it looks like when you report EVM. This is a very typical report. It will exist usually in some table form, and the information is there. You have cost information, time information, and sometimes even scope. Scope is measured in terms of function points or story points. Okay? So as a project manager, as part of your progress reporting, you may have to generate the EPV reports, and this is the sort of typical format that it will exist in. All right? Okay. I'd like you guys now to do something. You can sort of split into a group of 5 or a bit more than that, I don't really mind. But have a look at this and see whether, you know, all these mistakes, do you make it? How will you prevent them from happening in this unit? So the common sort of project management mistakes, have a think about what you did in previous units group work. And did you make those mistakes? If you did, what are the lessons learned? And how can you avoid those common mistakes being made in this unit or any other units you're doing in this semester? Okay? So next 10 minutes, can I get you guys to have a quick discussion? And I get a few of you by randomly to sort of share the insights with the rest of the class. Okay, so a bit of break. Give me a break not to talk too much. Guys, come together and talk. Come together and talk. Think about, how you experience those things in either real life situation or in your unit's group work.
5056.
Right?
Yeah, 5056.
Yes. So what are the mistakes that you make, roughly?
Lack of communication. That is the biggest problem.
Yep.
Not
What?
being flexible in the group.
So not specific enough the scope meaning the answers. You don't know what the answers are. That means the group hasn't discussed about the answer.
Everybody was knowing what the answer is, but getting to the answer was difficult. Somebody believes something else is a better idea, and then I believe no, this is not the best solution. And then getting everybody on one page is difficult because they just think, no, this is the right thing. That is not the best
So
idea.
it's very much about, we're talking about product scope, that's the answer.
Yeah.
So everybody have different opinions. How do you converge that into one? And you had trouble doing that. Yes.
We did experience that, but that was only solved because the deadline is coming in. Okay, we just take your solution and give it to them.
Yep.
That was not a very good experience.
Yep. But how can you prevent it from happening again this time, in this semester?
You need to have certain set of rules to start the project with. Yeah, this is. I think in previous semester, communication plan came week 8 or something. I think that should have been conducted much more previously, so everybody knows how to
Communicate. But the scoping came first, but still there are problems.
Group did came first, but when we are talking with people, the people factor comes in much more. The first thing that is what starts. If somebody is not aware of it, then it becomes difficult.
have a red pack, you can be emotional and say, I don't like it because or whatever, that's what you be emotional, you got to justify why you don't like this. Okay? So you can use techniques like this to filter out the list of ideas to actually formulate the answers. So there are many techniques you can do that. And that's where skills teamwork comes in. You don't sort of go away when nobody wants to do it as if you bring them all together and through the team interaction using some techniques or some common sense sometimes to come to some consensus of what is a good answer about it. Okay? You have to get the team together. You can't say, oh, you keep up, okay. And this, okay, whatever you write, just put it there, whatever. Okay? So that gives me some good insights of what the issues you have and see whether you can come with some sort of strategy. And I'm more than happy to share with you if you think there's some problems that you really face in your group work. Okay? I'm happy for you to come and consult me and then we find a way of tackling those problems so that we won't get affected in this community. So this is very much about the today's lecture very quickly. The last few slides I don't have time to talk about it, but I'd like you guys to take it home and read. It's really about your assignment. Okay? During lectures, I'm also going to discuss assignment work as well, use of needs and techniques. And during tutorials, the tutors will continue to get data. So we will also be guiding you to do the assignments out of your sort of lecturing and tutoring. And the reason we're doing that is because this is a management unit. Management thinking is quite different, so we give you some framework on how to work with a manager by giving those guidelines. So while I don't have time to go to what's the assignment, I'd like you guys